All right. I'm excited about my guest who's here. She is a star. She's a superstar. You've seen her in major motion pictures like Jersey Boys. You've seen her on Broadway. She's the author of the book, Becoming a Master Communicator. Can you guys give some love and welcome Renée Marino? Hey, Renée.
Hey, Pat. Hi, everybody. So happy to be here.
It's awesome to have you here. I'm excited that you are here because you have battled what we are talking about, and you must have some strategies that work because I see you everywhere. And it's awesome that you have some strategies that work. So first of all, before you got here, we were sharing what it looks like for us. We've got shakers in the audience. We've got people who turn red and get a rash. We've got dry mouth. We've got sweating. Anything special about how this looks for you? What happens when you get nervous?
Ooh, that heart beats right out of my chest. Where you believe that the person in the front row can actually hear it. It's beating that hard.
That is a big heartbeat. You are right about that. So talk to us about your journey with stage fright, your relationship with it, and how you smashed it.
Like many of you, I have and still have moments of experiencing that stage fright or the nerves, as you'll call it. So I have 5 simple strategies to share with you so we don't fight the stage fright or we don't fight the nerves, because anything we fight exacerbates it, correct? So we're going to work with it. So these strategies are going to help you work with it to then use those nerves for fuel. So number
So
one,
like if you're going to throw up, make it part of your presentation.
yes, baby, go
That's
with
what
it.
I'm talking about.
That's it. In the performing world, we always say the show must go on. So so it's number 1 strategy, understanding that you are not alone. The biggest celebrities in the world, the biggest film actors in the world have stage fright. And I can share this with you because I've had the honor of working with many of them. And it always shocked me because, like many of you, I had that comparison syndrome where I always believed, oh, they're so great. I'm just not good at this. I just can't do it. I get too nervous. Until I realized, oh, wait a second, Renée. You're not alone. Everyone experiences this. So when you start to feel yourself get riled up, realize, oh, you know what? I'm not alone. I got this. You know what? Those people that I watch on TV and on Instagram and social media, they feel it too. So I can get through this. And think about the hard things you've done in your life. Make a list for yourself. I encourage you to do this after this training today. Think about the obstacles you've faced in your life and the hard things you've gotten through. And I can assure you, they are much harder than getting on a stage, whether that's virtual or in person. So that's number 1. Number 2, movement. I cannot tell you how important this is. Research shows time and time again a direct connection between moving your body and improved cognitive performance. Why is this important? Because when we move our bodies, it allows our brains to focus in and also allows us to calm our nervous systems down. When I was in college, I had an acting teacher who told us that some of the best performances come when you are the most exhausted. Why is this? Because when you're exhausted, you don't have that excess energy that causes you to fidget, that causes that voice that Pat was talking about to say, oh, you can't do this, you're not good enough. You're just exhausted. So you're just using that bare minimum energy that you have. So before you get on a stage, before you speak on Zoom for a presentation, move your body. For me, that looks like putting on my favorite song or songs. I create for myself the hashtag Power Prep playlist. I invite you all to create one for yourselves with songs that pump you up, make you feel fired up and ready to go. And I dance around. I dance around while I'm getting ready because I'm moving the stagnant energy and allowing it to shift to fuel. So number 1, understanding you're not alone. Number 2, moving the body. Number 3, transforming those nerves into excitement. My friends, nerves, it's just energy. All it is energy, and it just changes when we attach a label to it. So are you today going to attach the label of nerves or excitement? If you take a moment to become aware of when you feel nervous, those feelings that Pat just discussed, mouth going dry, I said heart racing, feeling like you're going to forget what you're going to say, whatever that is for you, think about when you're excited about something. Oftentimes, those same physical sensations are present. When I'm excited, oh my gosh, my heart's racing, my mouth's going dry, I forget what I'm going to say. So, what I have started to do for myself is I've started to label it excitement. And when I was performing in a Broadway show called Chaplin, there was one huge dance number that we would do, and I started to get really panicky about it, to the point where I was like, oh my goodness, this is holding me back. So I had to find a way to transform this for myself. So before I would go out for this big dance number and I would feel those physical sensations, instead of saying, oh my God, it's nerves, and allowing myself to concave, shoulders in, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I all of a sudden flipped the script and I was like, no, wait, I'm excited. I'm getting to do what I love for a big audience. This is going to be amazing. It's going to be great. And I would use it to fire myself up. So instead of labeling it nerves, label it excitement. So that's number 3. Number 4, embracing the silence. We are so afraid to take a pause because we think, if I take a second, they're going to think I forgot what I said and I'm going to mess up my whole talk. And oh my gosh, no one's ever going to come see me again. But what about when you're in a real conversation with someone you're comfortable with, and that person has just spoken, and now it's your turn to respond? When we are really listening, we need that second of silence, because what you just said, it's really interesting. I never thought about that before, right? We need a second to absorb before we respond. When we are on stage doing our talk, sharing our message, embrace the silence. Because when you take a moment, the power of the pause, if you will, that pause can be your reset button. Little trick of the trade, everybody. You can take that moment of silence to take a deeper breath. If you feel like you're about to forget what you're going to say, take that second, grab your water, and that will allow you to calm your nervous system down and also avoid another trap we fall into, which is filling with filler words. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the reason these filler words become a part of our talk, a part of our message, is because we're afraid to take a pause. So embrace it and use it. Embrace the silence, my friends. And last on our list, this one's a good one. Prepare, prepare, prepare. I wrote it and said it 3 times because that's how vital it is. And when I say prepare, just as Pat shared with us before, I don't mean, okay, I wrote my talk out, I got all the bullet points, I did a couple drafts, cool. Memorize it in my head a couple times, I'm good to go. I mean preparing and practicing as close to the conditions you'll be in as possible. Let me offer you an example. I was on the 25th anniversary of the musical Cats, and I was what they call in the theater world a swing. And a swing is a person who covers several different roles at once. So I had to know 6 different roles, because at any given moment, I would have to be ready to go on stage if one of those people were sick or got injured. So the way I would prepare was by being full out. I would stand as close to the stage as possible. You would see me in the wing practicing full out, using my whole body, singing as much as I could without being a distraction, because I wanted to feel as close to being on that stage performing as I could. I could feel the heat of the lights. I pictured myself watching all of the faces of the audience members. And the reason I did that was to train my body and train my muscle memory to already be in the conditions. And by doing that, even practicing, if I forgot something, practicing moving forward with it. Because then when it was showtime, my body was already prepared, muscle memory. So practice and prepare in the conditions, like Pat was saying to us before. Don't just record yourself once. No. When I just did my TED Talk about a month ago, I would bring my family members and friends over to be my audience. I would put a ring light on to feel like I was in the lighting, and I would put on the pair of shoes that I was going to be wearing for the actual talk. Why? I didn't want one thing to throw me off, because when we're not prepared, that's when we get nervous. So preparation, and not just practicing, but practicing perfectly, as my dance teacher used to tell us, which means practicing under the conditions, that is what brings about confidence. So number one, you're not alone. Understand you're not alone. Number two, move the body. Number three, transform those nerves into excitement. Number four, embrace the silence. And number five, prepare as close to the conditions as possible. And one more, can I offer you one more that's just a bonus?
A bonus one.
Woo! Bonus, everybody.
Before the bonus one, I want to let people know that we are going to take questions. And so if you have questions, you can click on reactions, hit raise your hand, and we both Renee and I have a little time to stick around and answer any questions that you might have. So if there's a specific situation you've tried to overcome, a specific problem that you're worried about, something that's happened, we'd love to answer that and take any questions that you have. But Renee, you've got a bonus one, 20% more than you thought you were going to get.
Dun, 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 dun. Here it is. It's not about perfection. It's about connection. At the end of the day, if you have put the focus on your audience and you've asked yourself, how can I serve and not worry so much about yourself? When you flub a little bit here, flub a little bit there, we don't care, because you have connected with us on such a deep level that we want more from you. It's not about perfection. It's about connection.
I love it, Renee. I would go one step further than that. The audience doesn't want you to be perfect. As a matter of fact, if you are perfect when you go on stage, they're going to hate you, especially if you're a woman. They will absolutely hate you. And so what they want you to do is to be yourself, to be human. And what do humans do? We make mistakes. So the next time you make a mistake, the next time you trip walking up on the way to stage, the next time you spill water on yourself as you're getting ready to go on stage, the next time your child walks naked behind you on camera, your 2-year-old, like, don't try to act like it didn't happen. Be like, oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. I just spilled water all over myself. Like, just embrace it. They don't want you to be perfect. I tell you who does this better than anyone else, and then we're going to take your questions, is Ellen. Ellen does this better than anyone else. Ellen is bad at dancing. Most people know she's bad at dancing. And when Ellen steps out in front of a new audience, the very first thing she does is say, I'm bad at dancing. And then you know what the second thing she does is? She dances. She just gets it out of the way and says, I'm bad at this. Let me show you. Let me show you how bad I am at this. And they love her for that, because she's not trying to be perfect. That's the power. And so when you go on stage, if you think, I have to be perfect, I can't forget a single word, I can never bump into the table with my hip and accidentally knock things over, I can't drop the marker or screw up how I advance my slides or look into the wrong camera, I can't do any of that. Like, they're going to hate that. They want you to make mistakes. So look forward to it. Turn those nerves into excitement, and you are good to go. Renee, thank you so much. I am so appreciative. Do you have time to stick around for just a couple of questions?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. If you have questions for Renee and I, feel free to raise your hands. You can do that by clicking on reactions. Don't click on the crying person, and don't click on the heart. We aren't going to answer those. We're only going to answer ones if you raise your hand, which is a big button that says raise your hand. Amber is first out of the chute. Amber, what can we help you with today?
Wonderful. Yes, hi Renee. So grateful for your time here today. And I have to say congratulations on hitting your one bucket list moment for the TEDx stage. That's absolutely amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
With that being said, what did you, when you got on that stage, as we're about to experience that in our own way for this stage, this for me personally, this coming Saturday, what kind of advice could you give with what you felt for that moment for you? Because for me personally, that's my bucket list moment, is being part of something this big as a speaker. So what advice can you give from that moment that you took away?
Amber, congratulations to you. We are cheering you on. Everything that I just shared with you is exactly what I've implemented and I continue to implement. And especially when it came to my TED Talk, I won't go into full details, but I got thrown some loops a week before, Amber. Truly, talk about having to roll with the punches. So I had the opportunity many times to freak out and be like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Now I had to change part of my talk 2 days before. Oh, there. Oh.
Well, that's a very, very clever way to show us the cover of your book, Renee.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, but we can't see you. You can keep talking.
There we go. Oh, here we go. Hold on. See, rolling with it.
I know from experience, because I happened to be with you that week in Miami, that you were being put through the ringer. Like picture having a 20-minute talk written, and then they say, oh, by the way, that 5 minutes that you were going to end with, you can't do that.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
That's what Renee had to deal with, and it was crazy.
It was
so
crazy.
from a mind game, when things, and that happens all the time, by the way, if you're gonna speak, you're gonna realize that 5 minutes before you speak, they're gonna say, hey, we had a sponsor who wants to speak in the last 10 minutes. Can you cut your presentation 10 minutes short? Or when I spoke at the CATA event, the California administrators, there were 2,500 people in the room. I had a 50-minute presentation plan. And right before I went on stage, they said, we're running ahead of schedule. Lunch won't be ready when you finish. Can you go from 50 minutes to an hour and 20 minutes? Can you add 30 minutes to your presentation? There's 20, they're like playing my walk-up song, and there's 2,500 people in the room. Like, that happens. How do you deal with the changes like that, Renee?
Looking at it as opportunity. I had to apply this the day and 2 days and the day before my talk, where I had to allow myself to feel the feelings of frustration, because that's important. Feel what you're feeling. And then I said, okay, Renee, there's a lesson in this for you. This is going to help you grow. And now you're going to use this as part of your talk, which is actually what I did. And moments before, Amber, I was the first speaker of the whole event. I sat backstage. I stood backstage and I said to myself, Renee, this is not about you. It's about the message being shared through you. So it wasn't so much about repeating and making sure I had every word perfect. It's not about you. It's about you serving your audience. And I went out there and I did it, and it was successful. And I'm so grateful that I did it. And I'm even more grateful for the challenge that was brought to me beforehand, because I know that it was for me. And now I'm like, oh, what can I do, baby? I used this for me. So
you see the discipline? You see the discipline that Renee showed there? That was not an I statement. There was no, I'm not getting to give the presentation I want to give, or I didn't know these were going to be the conditions, or I'm going to look bad because I haven't practiced this as much as I could have if they wouldn't have changed these things on me. It was all you statements and the message coming through me. It's about the message in the audience. I love that, Renee. Thank you for the question, Amber. Danusha is next. Stay there. What can we answer for you?
There we go. There we go. First of all, thank you both for all the tips that you've given us. Really, really helpful. My question has to do with some of the mechanics of the prepare. And so if you can, either one of you can address what it is that you do in terms of, I mean, I understand the clarity, knowing your audience, knowing your material, it's all about them. but in terms of actually preparing so that you can go out there and serve them to the highest capacity, I would love any tips, any suggestions that you have that have worked for either one of you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's so great to see you. Pat, may I jump in?
Go right ahead.
Great. Something that I wanted to address as well is the importance of verbalizing. I recognized this actually when I was writing my book. I was in the editing phase and I was sitting at my computer to myself in my head, reading my book and making changes. And then all of a sudden, I started to read it aloud. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is how I should have been doing it the entire time, because something magical happens when you verbalize it and you can hear it back. So part of the prepare is once you have gone through your structure of your talk, of your presentation, you know the points that you're going to hit. Now it's time to speak it. Sometimes we believe that sitting and just memorizing in our heads is enough, and it's not. You must verbalize. And once you verbalize, you can use a whole slew of tactics while you're doing your daily tasks. With my TED Talk, I would sometimes just put my video camera on just to get used to the feeling of speaking it while there's a camera on, just to give myself an extra layer of preparation. And as long as you're doing it consistently every day, you take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes to practice what you're going to say. As Pat Quinn told us, do that webinar on for your Facebook group. Do it every week if you have to, but consistency is really the key. Pat, would you like to add to that?
I just love that. So many people think reading through their presentation is practicing, and reading through your presentation is not practicing. Speaking your presentation, reading your presentation out loud is practicing, because you're building not only muscle memory in the saying of the words, but you're also seeing where you stumble and your brain is learning it. And so practice as many times as you can by speaking it out loud, and then start doing that again in front of live audiences, whether that's online or in a small room. And you're going to have the very best chance. You know, the other thing is you just have to allow yourself to be bad the first few times. The first 5 times you give any presentation, you're just trying to remember the words. Like, that's why we see people with their eyes rolled up in their heads so much in the beginning, because they're looking up, trying to remember the words. The next 5 times that you give it, we call it 5 through 10. The 5th time you do it through the 10th time that you do it, you know the words, and you suddenly become aware that you have a body, that you had your arms folded the whole time, or that you were bouncing your leg the whole time, or you were walking back and forth like a tiger at the zoo. And you're like, oh, wow, I really have to pay attention to how I use my body here. I need to stand up straight, make eye contact. I need to use my hands appropriately, stand still now and then. That's 5 through 10. After the 10th time that you do it, you pretty much know all the words, and you pretty much have, you know, you're standing still now as much as possible. Then you suddenly become aware there's other people in the room. There's an audience. I could look at them and see if they're laughing or crying. I could look at them and see if they're bored or leaning in. I could look at them and see if they're nodding their heads, or if they're looking the other way or looking at their phones. Like, I could actually interact and give this to people, not just to a wall or to a camera. There's other people here. And that's like 10 through 15. And I think about the 15th time that you do it, I think you're starting to really get it down. You aren't worried about forgetting it. You're aware of your body and what it's doing. And you're aware of the other people in the room. Those are the 3 things you need to be aware of: the words that you're saying, how you're moving your body, and the people in the room. You know, and I think from 15 on, you really are somebody, and I know this for a fact, if you've ever seen a really good speaker and you've watched a really good speaker, and you're like, wow, that was amazing. There's only one thing I can promise you. Here's what I can promise you. That was not the first time that speaker had given that talk. They had an ugly first time too. They had an ugly second time, and an ugly third time, and a little less ugly 4th time, and a little less ugly 5th time, and a pretty good 6th time, and a mediocre 7th time, and a pretty good 8th time, and a really good 9th time, and a very good 10th time, and to the time that you got it to amazing. But it was not the first time that they'd given the talk. I've given my keynote presentation 1,100 times. In the beginning, it was ugly, and yours will be too. And you just have to embrace that. Our friend, Coach Jimmy says, whoever screws this up first is going to win. And he's right. Whoever's willing to go out there and be bad is going to win, because they're the ones who are going to get less bad faster. You can't skip 1 through 5. 1 through 5, you're going to struggle to say the words. You can't skip 5 through 10. You're going to awkwardly move around the stage in 5 through 10. You can't skip 10 through 15. You are going to ignore the audience the first 10 times you do this. I know you are, because you're just trying to remember what you're saying and figure out how to move. You can't get to 15 yet. There's no shortcut to 15. This isn't Chutes and Ladders. You have to go through 1 through 15, and it's going to be awkward. But once you get there, then you've got the world right where you want the world. Then you're just looking for opportunities, and you're not afraid of them anymore. So I love the question.
Thank you both.
Thanks for
Thank
your
you
answer.
both so much. That was so helpful. Wow. Thank you.
You're
You
so
bet.
welcome.
Hey, we've got time for 2 more, and then we're going to wrap this up. Amber Williams, how are you today? Good to hear from you.
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing well. How can we help you?
First of all, not to sound like a broken record, but thank you, both of you, for this training. I really, really appreciate it. I love speaking. I've loved speaking since I was a little kid. I've been on stages since I was about 4 years old. So my challenge is actually with the preparing. I understand that is really important, but I get bored. How do you avoid getting bored during prep, the prep time? Could you speak to that? Would you mind?
Yeah, Amber, I love this question because I experienced the same thing. So high five. And the way that I overcome that is by reminding myself that this is only going to make me more happier, more fulfilled in the end, because I'm going to put in this practice and I'm going to know that it's going to make the difference. It's that flipping of the script, that voice in your head, right? It's like which wolf are you going to feed? The one that's trying to take you down, or the one that is going to serve you? So that's really where the mind flip comes in. And you have to take that control and say, okay, I'm going to do this today, and I'm going to give myself a reward after. See, I like rewards. Usually for me, it's food. So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go get a brownie, or I'm going to get a cup of coffee. And that shoots off the dopamine in my brain. And then it's like, all right, let's get through this 40 minutes or 30 minutes, and then you're done. And I would just play those mind tricks with myself and do it every single day. And after I got off of stage a few weeks ago with TEDx, I was so grateful that I did this every day. Even those moments where I was like, I know this part so well. I know this part, I could rush through it. I was like, no, Renee, you're going to be so happy that you did this each and every day. So that's really a mindset shift.
Amber, what I would say is I don't practice a lot, and you've heard this already today. I don't practice a lot without a live audience. And so I don't get bored because I'm not paying attention as much to what I'm saying as I am to the audience and how they're reacting. And so even if I rush it in front of a live audience, partly because I've had experiences where I thought I'd written the perfect talk and I thought I had the perfect teaching, and I practiced it for weeks, and then I put it in front of a live audience and they were bored from the get-go. They didn't like the opening story, and you will find that so much faster and the content teaching lacked examples, and I didn't realize that. But once I did it in front of a live audience, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a story here, and I need a story here, and I need a joke here. That's what I need. And I learned that in one time through with a live audience, where I'd practiced it 30 times before without a live audience and never realized that. So I rush my talks in front of a live audience just to see how they can get better. And then I'm never bored because I'm not paying attention to the talk. I'm paying attention to the audience and how they're responding. I'm also obsessive, and those of you who've been to my workshop know this. I'm obsessive about every word in the talk. I mean, I will spend hours trying to figure out a perfect example so the audience understands it better, the perfect analogy, the perfect word to describe this, so that there's never a moment of confusion, so there's never a moment of boredom. So I'm obsessive about the audience and how they're responding. and I'm obsessive about every word. And I will think about one word in my talk and try it 3 different ways on 3 different occasions. So I'm constantly changing. I've given my signature talk 1,100 times, but I'm still improving it. I'm still thinking of word switches. I'm still thinking of better examples for certain audiences when I do it in front of health coaches, or I do it in front of people who have more established businesses. I'm thinking, what's the best example? What's the best example? What's the best example? We're headed to Dallas for Saturday, and I'm going to speak for 30 minutes at the start of an event, and I'm already thinking about the examples that I'm giving. I'm going to change out one of the examples that I did it a couple of weeks ago in Phoenix, the same talk. I'm going to change out one of my examples and switch it up a little bit, just so I can connect to the audience better. So I get it in front of a live audience quickly, and because I'm paying attention to the audience, I don't get bored by doing that. But I love Renee's answer, and that is it. It's worth it. I don't know about how much Taco Bell should I have every time I practice, Renee? Do you think I can go to Taco Bell every time I practice?
Listen, you have to balance it out, PQ. Taco Bell one day, a green smoothie the next, but as long
Oh my word, I would never practice if all I got was a green smoothie. All right, Andrew, we've got time for one more question. You get the final question of the day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I know it's ideal to only accept stages that you are competent about addressing.
Yeah.
What do you do when someone throws you a topic or a question that you're not competent or comfortable to address? How do you respond to that?
Well, I'll let Renee answer that, and then I'll give my answer.
Andrew, it's really important to understand that you're not supposed to know everything about all things every time. And it's okay to let someone know, actually, this isn't in my wheelhouse, but I would love to get you an answer. I have a friend who's in this business, or I have someone else that I can call upon, but I would love to get that information before I tell you something that I'm not 100% clear on. We oftentimes think that we have to know everything and it has to be perfect. It's still that idea of perfectionism that holds us back. So being honest about it, even there are many times when I'm in my course and clients ask me questions and I have to say, I've never heard that before. I'm going to research this and I'm going to get back to you. And that's okay.
Renee, have you ever been asked to speak on a topic that is outside of your wheelhouse? Like, what if I would say where the local ventriloquist convention is coming to a town near you, and we would like you to give a 30-minute talk on communicating through a puppet?
Yes, that's so weird. They just asked me last week.
Oh, that's because I dropped out. See, I turned that one down, but I recommended you for it.
Perfect. Yes, that has happened to me. I speak to a lot of companies, and recently a company reached out to me and they found me through my website, and I had to do exactly what I'm telling you, Andrew. I was very honest and upfront. We hopped on a quick call and I said, listen, this is not in my wheelhouse, but what I do speak on and what my passion is and what my book is based on is blank, blank, and blank. And I spoke a little bit about what is in my area of expertise. And sometimes maybe the person you're talking to will be like, actually, that's interesting. We'd like to hear about that. Or they just say, thank you so much, and we appreciate your honesty. You can never go wrong with being a person of integrity and owning up to the fact that this is not in my wheelhouse. But I'd love to either refer someone else to you. That's a great way to go about it. Offer them a suggestion of someone else, a friend, someone else who is in a program that you're doing, that you can refer to them. And they would be so appreciative. Pat, would you like to?
Oh, I love everything you said. So first of all, Andrew, if you're going to be, here's my rule. If you're going to be nervous about it from the moment you say yes and regret it from the moment you say yes, you should just say no. It's just not worth it. Life's too short to take on opportunities that you're just going to regret and dread the whole time. Like, you should look forward to every speaking engagement that you get. Nerves are one thing, but nerves to the point of, why did I do this? I shouldn't have done this. Now this is going to be 100 extra hours of work. I'd rather you just get good at the one talk that you're putting together and go find stages for it. There's thousands of stages for your one talk. Why are you letting someone else give you a to-do list of writing a new talk when you could just perfect the talk that you have and go find the stage for it? Now, if it's kind of half on your topic and half off your topic, here's my pro ninja tip.
Woo! Pro ninja tip.
Tell them that you're pretty close to this topic. Do what Renee said and be honest about it. And then if you know someone who would cover the topic better, offer to co-present or offer to have them come on halfway through your presentation and interview them, because they know more about the topic than you do. You're going to get the credit from the audience for bringing on this really smart guest. You get to ask the questions as somebody who doesn't know all the answers, and you're going to get the credit for it because you included them in the middle of your presentation, and you start it and you end it. If you don't believe me, look what just happened. I get the credit for bringing Renee here today. Can you guys give some love to Renee?
Yeah, thanks.
Way to end it, Pat.
I'm just saying, I practice what I preach.
Yep.
And Renee is a true expert at this and a true professional. Thank you, Renee. Any final words of advice?
Thank you so much. This has been such an honor. And the best way to do it is to do it imperfectly. Make the deadline for yourself now. I'm going to do my first webinar by tomorrow, by next week, because the quicker you get to it, the quicker you become an expert, the quicker you get to the point where you're not inundated with nerves, but you're ready to serve from a place of confidence and ease, and you're more focused on your audience than you are on yourself.
I think that's a great place to end it. I would say the same thing. If it's all about you, then you're going to keep this message trapped inside you your whole life. But I know that's not what you want. I know you have a message inside you that serves others. You have a cause that will solve a problem that the world is dealing with. And you want to have an impact on the lives of other people. And the only way to do that is to say yes to your future and no to your fear. And some of the strategies that we've given you here today can help you get there, along with a whole lot of practice. So on behalf of Pete Vargas, I'm Pat Quinn. Thanks to Renee Marino for being here today, Claire for running everything behind the scenes. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and don't let fear stop you from taking that next big stage. Get out there and share your message with the world. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.